Police accountability activist is now on the city payroll. He's been hired as a so-called street czar, theoretically to help de-escalate tensions between police and protesters.
But not everyone thinks Andre Taylor is the right person for the job, and there are also questions about his six-figure contract.
We have team coverage tonight, including community reaction, but we start with Matt Markovich with some details about this hire. Matt?
Yeah, this is a first for Seattle, a street czar, a position that Andre Taylor made up, and he says the mayor agreed. It's a $150,000 one-year contract.
During CHOP,
violence is being brought to this place.
Andre Taylor, one of the most visible police accountability activists in the city, came there to de-escalate tensions. But he was chased out by demonstrators, accusing him of being on the city's payroll. We're now learning he was about to. A week before that shouting match, the city signed their portion of a contract for $150,000 a year to Taylor's organization, not this time, to be a street czar, the city's first.
What is a street czar?
I know the term street czar is quite provocative. So a street czar is a person that has a particular genius in a particular area.
For Taylor, that genius, he says, is his experience at de-escalation and a go-between the city and others.
Having sit-downs with gang members where they won't sit down with anybody else, and pimps and prostitutes and people.
You see, is that your role as
I'm broadening it out for you.
Taylor says it's a continuation of a $100,000 a year contract in 2019 for a speaker series his group put together.
No one raised any questions about the $100,000 that the city gave us for conversations with the streets. And we are kind of bewildered that people are now raising an issue about $150,000 for our de-escalation efforts that we've been doing since my brother Shay Taylor was killed. It's amazing to me. It's a non-starter and a non-issue.
In a statement, the Department of Neighborhoods says Taylor's role will be to assist the city with de-escalation and community engagement, as well as provide recommendations on alternatives to policing.
Me as a black man have the right to be paid for my genius or for whatever my organization can provide. Black people as a whole have not been in a place to be compensated for their genius or their work for a very, very long time.
We asked the mayor's office to respond to our questions. The office referred to me to the Department of Neighborhoods, which did not answer our questions. Taylor says he's looking forward to the job. He'll be considered an independent contractor and consultant to the city. In Seattle, Matt Markovich, KOMO News.
Thank you, Matt. One thing for sure, the hiring of Andre Taylor as a street czar came as a surprise to everyone we talked to today. That goes for those who think he's perfect for the job and those who insist he should never have been hired. KOMO's Michelle Esteban is on Capitol Hill near the East Police Precinct, the epicenter of the protests, where she found mixed reaction tonight. Michelle?
Absolutely. You know, for people who live and work in the area, the position and the pay really did catch them off guard, but all of them say, hey, this is action, and this could lead to positive change, so they like it. But the protesters, the ones that you may recall that occupied the CHOP protest zone, which was right here outside the police precinct, they are outraged.
She can hire Andre Taylor. She can hire Jesus. It's not going to stop.
Chris Hunt, who's been protesting for police reform, insists spending $150,000 to hire a street czar is misguided and misdirected.
I'm telling you, Jenny, it's not going to stop until you change what's going on with these police.
I personally think that that's a gross misappropriation of funds from the city.
It's not just the money, it's the man the city hired, Andre Taylor.
They don't want Andre Taylor to speak for them.
Mark Anthony and David Lewis were part of the CHOP occupation and said there was bad blood with Taylor because they didn't think he approved of the CHOP zone. It got so heated, this confrontation captured on camera in June. Protesters surrounded Taylor and demanded he leave.
Saying that their activity was completely useless and unwarranted.
I trust him. I've worked with him. I've stood by him. I've walked with him. And so I'm excited about the opportunity that he is having.
First AME Church pastor Kerry Anderson says Taylor is the exact right person. His brother was fatally shot by a Seattle cop in 2016, and he pushed for change in state law to prosecute police for shootings.
It's a challenge, but I believe that if anyone can help de-escalate these situations in our community. He's the one.
The guy has some credibility, but there's got to be trust between the protest and the city and him.
Joan Malazzo is co-owner of Retrofit Home. They nearly lost their business with all the violence and daily protest. She and other businesses I talked to think a street czar is progress.
It's a potential maybe this guy could be good.